Welcome to Behind the Doors, the podcast where we take you behind the scenes of residential real estate investing. I'm your host, Dan Noma Jr., here with my co-host, Marvin Cruz.
We're here to help you unlock the best strategies and practice for investors. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro looking to scale your portfolio.
We've spent decades navigating the ever-changing world of real estate, and now we're sharing everything we've learned to help you succeed.
From off-market deals to cash flow management and everything in between, we'll break it down and bring you actionable insights that can make a real difference in your investments.
So get ready to open the door to new opportunities and take your real estate investing to the next level. Let's dive in.
What's up? How you feeling?
Man, we're back at it.
Hey, there's somebody sitting right
I know.
I mean, this is awesome.
Between two guys.
I
between
think
two
you're the
friends.
second guest we had in person, by the way.
Yeah.
I feel special then.
Yeah,
Thank you.
should,
Thanks
buddy.
for having
and
me.
we feel special that you are actually here.
I think, he's the first out of town guest
Yeah,
that
you
came
traveled.
to visit us this
Yeah,
week.
that's true.
We've become that important that Branden wanted to come out and visit us.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know this young man, this is the CEO of CIAS, right?
CIAS.
Tell us about it. What is this? Because I think the audience, I'm telling you, I know what it is, but I want you to tell the audience what it is. And I think they're going to get very excited about it.
It's great 4 letters that stand for the Certified Investor Agent Specialist Designation.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And what does that mean? What is it?
Well, it can be confusing for some, but what it really means at the end of the day is a professional development training for real estate agents who not only want to work in the investor space in real estate, but hopefully learn enough to want to become investors themselves.
I love that. I love that. Yep. We talk about this all the time, right? Like real estate agents, you have to diversify in some form or fashion, especially in the dynamic of the way real estate is going today. And so why not become an investor yourself? You already know the market. You already got amazing tools like Easy Street, and now you have development courses that you could take as well.
You know, it's funny you say that. It's you think they know the market, and I think traditional real estate agents know the traditional space, but not necessarily the investor space.
Good point.
Right? So
Yeah, you've got it's interesting, right? Like you've got agents out there. There's a lot of real estate agents that never bought their own home, right? So that's one thing. And not saying like financially, whatever, like it's just like, you got to kind of have felt that, you know, I don't know. I think to excel in it. But I think what's really interesting about our industry is that everybody typically is a 1099 independent contractor, right? With that said, there's no retirement plan. There's no 401k. There's no IRAs set up for these companies. Like some of them have unique things like that.
Right.
But by and large, it's a very small likelihood that a real estate agent, you know, has a retirement set up for themselves, right? And what better way to retire than to have some assets and like being a real estate investor, you know? So I would tell agents all the time when I had teams and training them, I'd be like, man, like use the additional money that we're giving you to invest in a real estate because this is your retirement.
yeah, and along the same lines, here's a trick question.
Yeah.
Would you actually be a better real estate professional to your client if you not only owned your own property, but you owned investment property?
Yeah.
Would you be a better agent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. You know, I would think that those experiences help you out. It's like going to a doctor and the doctor says, you know, like I had this knee issue this year. My doctor he told me 25,000 knees, right? And with the moment he was like, I did 25,000 knees, I was like, okay,
you're my guy.
I should be okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
A little hope.
yeah, there's, you know, whether he did one or two of those people, there's at least, you know, 10,000 plus people that he worked on to, you know, do these things. So I think the same for real estate agents and real estate professionals, you know, so it's like part of this is not just how do you as an agent become an investor and retire, but it's that how do you service a unique niche of the industry better, right? Yeah. Because like you can get your real estate license, let's be real, you get your real estate license in 90 hours. And you know, you get the piece of paper and now you can practice real estate. And then you go to your brokers, and most brokers, the education's around sales. How do you sell real estate? Like how do you sell?
Yep.
And there's not a whole lot of training around real estate investing, you know?
Well, and again, just going one step further, I think real estate investing is actually 30% of the market.
Yeah.
So if you are good in sales, or you understand maybe where there's opportunity, and we're a data driven, right, society now. If I understood 20 years ago that the real estate market was 35% investor related, would I have done something different if I could go back in time? And the answer would be absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about your total addressable market, right? Your TAM now is 30% in some markets. I mean, some it's going to vary not on a national level, but you know, that's a significant portion of the market that you either have cut out of your market sphere because you don't know it, or that you can tap into. Right. And, you know, I don't know, for me, I'd lean in, you know, that's all I've ever done.
Makes sense.
Well, you know, I'm a little biased.
And we're in a world where, back to the traditional side, there's so many agents that are working with buyers, and buyers have been a little more reluctant, either pricing, interest rates, a combination of it being affordable, where, again, there are investors out there who don't look at it the same way.
Right.
And so if you're an agent who is wanting some more opportunity or transactional business, the investor space is, I don't want to say it's bulletproof, but it's about the numbers, and it's about buying it right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's like NAR has a statistic. Every year we talk a lot about their stats. They have a statistic they talk about, you know, how often people transact, right? And right now that running average is a little greater than 5 years. So the national average is that people will stay in their home up to 5 years. That means in their lifetime, right, as an adult, that they might transact 4 times total in their lifetime. So that means that like that customer base that you've got, that's why these agents need thousands in their database, right? Because they're only going to work with this person 4 times in their lifetime. Like that's
so it's not even the thousands. It's I better be in this business for 30 years so that I can get that repeat business. Yeah. Right.
You know, whereas like if you're working with a real estate investor, they're transacting constantly, you know, and that was the attraction for me, right? Like when I looked at the business as a kid and I thought like, where would I go? I knew that like if I could grow and just get like, if I could get the right amount of investors and work with those guys, like they would all repeat, and I would only have to do that once. And then I wouldn't have to go back to the pool again and like try to recreate new clients. And so that was the attractive part for me, is that I didn't want to go keep fishing, you know, for new clients. I just knew if I got the right deals that my group of clients would always buy them, you know, and I kind of kept it that way for years. And so that,
I love that. And if real estate agents that are listening today, keep in mind, people are renting more and more every year, which means more investors are coming into your market, which means you should not ignore that 30% we've talking about.
You always need a roof over your head, right?
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely need a roof over your head. And there's actually, there are influencers out there now, and there are documentaries on Netflix that encourage people to not buy.
Yeah.
They actually say it's okay to rent, and there's a whole generation of folks who are absolutely okay renting. Interesting, what we're finding in our market is the millennials, as an example, might not be able to afford a home in their backyard, but they're still okay with buying an investment property. They're actually okay doing both.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, but it's good to know that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people that, you know, are buying an investment property first before they buy their primary residence, just due to the barrier of entry it takes to buy. Like, you know, like you've kind of found this a little bit, right? Like you want it, the level of home you want right now in our market is just, it's just the price is really high on that level of home
right now.
Right. So for you, it's like you'd be better off buying an investment property. You're not going to live in that anyways, right? You're going to rent that property out, earn some income revenue and all of that from that, then use that money to eventually buy your mansion on the hill.
That's right. Know? That's right.
Marvin's got he's got big taste, man.
Yeah. High maintenance.
Oh yeah.
I'm not high maintenance.
No.
There's a difference.
You just got big taste.
I got big taste.
His taste is
All right. So we won't be going to McDonald's.
No, we will not.
No.
That's good to know.
Steak 44? Yes.
Right.
McDonald's? No.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a high class individual right here.
I love it. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got big taste. So what's as an agent out there thinking about this, maybe even hearing us, like, what are they going to learn in CIAS? Like, where do you take them on the journey? Because it's a 2-day course, right?
It's 12 hours.
12 hours.
So if we teach it live in person, it's 2 days back to back. If we do it live virtually right now, it's 4 consecutive days, 3 hours a day, which is nice, if you're doing it virtually. It's such a very well-rounded class, Dan. We start off by really comparing the investment opportunity to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, because I think it's only fair. I think there are more people out there that might have a retirement account than they own real estate, right?
Yep.
And so we do a soft entry into that to help understand that it's okay to be diversified, that there's no magic bullet, right, to getting rich or building wealth. And then we go down this journey of starting to get them comfortable with numbers, basic numbers that are important for trying to determine whether a property is a good deal or not, right? Whatever their definition of deal is. So certain numbers, cash on cash return, cap rate, basis, net operating income. We do an important dive on the importance of not just team building. So when we say building a team, and I think it's interesting because even as a solo agent, as a coach, I would say you still have a team, right?
Yeah.
Lenders, attorneys, contractors, property managers, lawn maintenance, cleaning people, and how important those individuals really can become, not just to helping you and your investors, but they're a great referring source if you build the right team. We get into self-directed IRAs, 1031 exchanges, and not just an overview of what it is, but the strategies around how you can build a business transactionally through these vehicles, and just truly understanding what they are. Right. How to market, how to prospect, how to, I know maybe we shouldn't use the word profiling anymore, but you guys call it a buy box. We call it an investor profile. And so what we're ultimately trying to say to a traditional real estate agent is that property that you can probably easily run a CMA on, we want you to look at it through the lens of an investor. And what I found on this journey is that every property out there has some rate of return. You just don't know what it is. Right. And once you figure out what that rate of return is, you'll quickly realize there are people out there looking for it. So in our profiling with our investors, it's a good understanding. We basically create 5 investor types: first-time investor, move-up investor, a portfolio investor, a performance investor, and then a rehab and resale. Yep. So we start with just understanding that segment to a certain degree, and then we teach them a proactive agent model instead of a reactive agent model. And what do we mean by that? Well, a lot of real estate agents do know investors, and a lot of investors know real estate agents, and most real estate investors that are looking for a deal try and partner with as many real estate agents as they possibly can in hopes that that real estate agent stumbles upon a deal. And if that real estate agent stumbles upon a deal, they have a tendency to say, hey, Marvin, here's the deal I found, 1234 Main Street. Let me know what you think. Yep. And then what does that investor have to do? Now they got to go do all the work. Yep. Yeah. So the proactive model with the CIS class is every day, instead of, necessarily reading the news, we teach you how to what we call scrub properties. Find deals, understand the math, so that you're excited about real estate because now you found a deal, you have something to share. And if you find the right investors, we want you to be an extension of their team and their goals. And I want you to be able to send that deal to Dan and say, what do you think? But there's way more information now, and it's a lot easier for you to say yes or no.
You've got confidence in that this is a good investment opportunity versus, like we talk a lot about subjectivity, right? And where a lot of agents, Scottsdale is like a perfect example of where I see a lot of subjectivity, right? Somebody comes from out of state, they go to an Arizona agent, they're like, hey, I want to invest in Arizona. Where should I go? And the first response that most agents would give them, let's go to Scottsdale, right? It's because it's cool, it's sexy, it's the best restaurants, all this stuff's here. but the reality is it's just mathematically not, right? I mean, that there are good opportunities in Scottsdale, don't get me wrong, but generally it's not like if you're looking for long-term buy and hold, it's not the best strategy.
Or a first-time investor.
Yeah, and then you see people get into deals that just like, like, man, why did they buy that one over the 20 I could have sold them that would have performed better, right? It's the return on their dollar that you're looking at here, right? And it's like, you don't learn that in real estate school. Your broker's not going to show you how to, do that.
Right.
But when you know how to do it, it's like a life skill that you now can take on and use all over the place,
Yeah. I actually think what's helped me and my team, my wife, Tammy, is my partner. And we're better just at the listing consultation or the listing presentation because we understand that there might not be a traditional buyer for this property. It might be an investor. And I already know what that math is.
Right.
And now we're having a better conversation with a homeowner about what potential things might happen. In other words, we want you to reverse engineer it. Nothing's changed in real estate. Location, condition, functionality, motivation, right? None of that has changed, but it does influence a potential rate of return.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was funny. Like, I've lived in this world of like institutions, and these guys have bought thousands of homes, and, there was times during market cycles where we were paying more than asking price or more than the listed price for the home. Mm-hmm. And I remember agents coming to me and being like, you're overpaying for this stuff. You're overpaying, overpaying. But we weren't. Like, we were just paying what we could pay for the property, right? So there is a retail value for a property, and there is an investment value for the property. And it oftentimes like intersects and waves, and sometimes the retail value is higher, sometimes the investment value can be higher. It really varies, right? But unless you know that going into this, you're kind of doing your customer a disservice in some cases,
Yeah.
Because what I would say to them, and those that were laughing at us, like, you actually underpriced the asset, right? Like, that's what you did. You underpriced the asset. You didn't know enough about what we were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you thought I overpaid for it, but really what we were doing is we just paid the value that we know it's worth.
And again, I think agents have a tendency to get in their own way, because they're looking at comps as an example, but not necessarily understanding a strategy, the why.
Yep.
And to your point, Dan, I remember right around 2012, we were still doing short sales and REOs in the Los Angeles area. And all of a sudden, same thing, these properties were selling at the time $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over.
Right.
And instead of just trying to head scratch, we really went out of our way. And that was when our model changed a little bit, in that we were now calling the listing agents and the buyer's agents to say, why was your seller selling and where did they go? Why was the buyer buying and why? Because we wanted that intel. Well, that particular time, there was a change in Chinese money. And the Chinese investors were like, I want my money out of China. And they were I just want to park it.
Right.
And they knew if I'm going to hold the property for 5 years or more, even if I paid $30,000 more than the asking price, I'm probably not going to lose.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So, and that's another part of what we teach, is understanding what exit strategy is,
right,
and the importance of that.
Yeah. There's so much there, man.
Right.
There's so much about that.
My aunt used to always say, if they knew better, they would do better. So
Sure.
I've always been a fan of education. But I love this because it teaches agents to become investors, but also just how to be a better service provider, right? Mm-hmm. We talk a lot about be that one-stop shop. Mm-hmm. And if you had these tools that CISs could answer for them, this would be great for them. What is your message to agents listening going, but it costs?
Yeah.
Right? I got to go spend another couple $100 for this course. What's your message to them?
Well, they probably didn't spend their money where they should have. I think the message really is, this is a business I've been doing for 32 years. And if I'm not investing in myself and my career and my profession, I'm probably not really providing the service my clients want me to provide. Buying leads, something that I've learned, just to maybe correlate with that, is the rate of return for most real estate agents who buy leads is around 8 to 10%. In other words, if I'm going to get $100,000 of GCI, I probably am spending $8,000 to $10,000 buying leads.
Yeah.
So if you think about that world, and most agents struggle with $200 a month, and then they wonder why they're not getting anything. It's that numbers game. For what we charge, knowing you're going to be working in 30% market share with people who transact more frequently than anybody else out there, it's a great investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Yep.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not even half of 1% of one deal, right?
Right.
Is the cost of the course.
Yeah.
It's not, so
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just,
it's a good question because there's a lot of bright, shiny objects in our industry.
Yes, it is.
And depending on the brokerage you're at, your mentor, who you're influenced by, we want that magic bullet. We want to be able to spend some money, but it's just, real estate is not Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way.
No. Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, thinking about like more strategic, or strategy with the agent, one of the things that comes to mind when you're talking is, that commission suppression is real, right? It's real. It's happening. In some areas it's different, where some are succeeding and having a great time with fee. But the reality is like this year in 2024, real estate transactions were down by 30%. Mm-hmm. It was the slowest market in 30 years. Mm-hmm. Okay. That means that like real estate agents just did less transactions.
Right.
With that said, like if you're going to do less transactions, shouldn't you maximize what you can earn on every single one of those transactions? Like, doesn't every appointment become more valuable? Doesn't every phone call become that much more valuable? Every lead just becomes like that much more valuable, regardless if you pay for them or not, or whatever. It's like every contact you've got just increased in value, and you've got to treat it differently now than you've ever had to do before.
No, well said. Very well said.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So on that same point, how challenging is it for a traditional real estate agent to find sellers and get listings today?
It's not easy.
So
It's competitive.
how difficult is it to find investors?
Pretty easy.
So
Yeah.
right there in a nutshell, right? Back
Right.
to, why learn this? Why we have investors who 100% appreciate we care about what they're trying to accomplish, and they appreciate I don't send them anything that doesn't make sense to them.
Right.
They have no problem paying us,
Yep.
right? To your point, back to the commission compression, if there's any, if people feel they're getting value, they're willing to pay for it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, if the deal's right, the money will be there,
That's
right?
right.
And that's the game.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
and
deal's got to be right, but the money's always there.
I think that, I know you had a previous guest and talking a little bit about fees and stuff. It was property management, as a matter of fact, and the negative connotation that can come with. I think the consumer sometimes has not felt they've gotten the service, maybe a previous transaction with their agent, like that was really easy. Why did I pay you 40 grand?
Yeah.
And that carries through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So back to an opportunity for agents to reinvent why they should earn what they're getting paid
Yeah.
instead of maybe feeling entitled about it or whatever. Just because you're an agent doesn't mean you're a good agent.
Yep.
Right.
Good point.
Yeah, even just making this like another arrow in your quiver, so to speak, right? It's like you've got to have this knowledge base for the next time you come up against one of these it's really an opportunity right now when it happens to an agent without the experience or without the knowledge base. I'm sure they're intimidated by it.
No, good point.
They're intimidated by math, or they're intimidated by the the big bad investor and stuff like that. But there's really nothing to be scared of, right? It's just math, number one. Number two is like investors are not emotional,
No.
So for a guy like me, this is perfect because again, the deal sells. I've never sold anybody anything. Right?
Right.
I've sold thousands of homes, but I'm not selling them on anything, right? I'm showing them the very objective numbers, and I go, here's the deal. And then they buy the deal, right? And that doesn't require me to be a salesman.
Right.
I just am out there sharing.
And you just reminded me something, Dan, of, and I know we use the word deal loosely. We're in this post NAR era, right? Where because of the settlement and because of what's happened, buyer agency, buyer agreements. I've been doing this a long time. I've never really focused on that. So if you're an agent who doesn't know any better and you know how to get buyer agreements signed, that's great. What I've found from our investors, and we work with 123 of them regularly, they're not going to sign an exclusive buyer agreement,
Right.
especially an institutional. But guess what they're loyal to? They're loyal till the deal if the deal makes sense.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another, I think, great benefit of taking a course like this is you get to that place where you have confidence that if you're proactively finding the deal, that investor's not going to leave you dry and high.
Yeah. I mean, we do it actively on our platform every day. Our buyer pays our fee. Right? And when I presented that to like our board and beyond, they were like, why would, the seller always pays the fee. Why would you make the buyer pay the fee? And I'm like, not in this world.
No.
Right.
I can get these buyers to pay the fee because it's just part of the transaction. It's just a number, right? It's an additional number. But if the deal's right, they're going to pay, like they're glad to pay me, right? As a representative to bring these opportunities to them.
Well, and you said it earlier, like if you're going to a specialist, you probably already are anticipating you're going to pay for that.
Yeah.
And I think, the real estate industry has been watered down a little bit for a lot of different reasons, which could probably be another episode in itself. So for us, think about the opportunity to not only earn what you're doing, but it also helps you disqualify.
Yeah.
So when you become good at this craft, you can also sniff out the investors who are not really for real from the ones who are as well. And so I think part of the class, what we go through is one of the challenges I think agents have today is they feel used by investors, but they don't understand why they're being used.
Yeah.
And that's just simply because they don't either understand what the intention is or the agenda that the investor may or may not have, whether it's really an investor or not, right? We have wholesalers, which is a whole nother conversation. But agents need to understand they have a super key, they have comps, and that's exactly what investors will initially use an agent to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So what we do is we encourage building that investor portrait. Is there's a questionnaire that goes with it. You have to qualify the investor too.
Yeah.
And sometimes agents have this fear of missing out. So, even if you've run the comps and the property's worth $500,000 and you're just excited to have the conversation with a seller and the seller wants to list it for $595.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah.
And that's all right. And and so to your point, not having the emotion and just understanding the math, I think it helps you just become more efficient with who you work with.
Right.
And by the way, the investors are taking courses.
They are.
So they are educating themselves. They are hungry for the same level. Why not level the playing field, if you will, before you get left behind, is what I'm thinking. Because I talk to investors all the time. And a lot of times they're like, Marvin, educate me on this, because they are hungry for that.
Yeah.
You can be that person for them by taking this course.
Well, and those are some of the next steps. Getting your first investment property, making sure you feel good about it. Hopefully you have the right accountant or tax strategist, so you're really leveraging all of the opportunity that this country gives you to be a real estate owner, right? And then going to that next level of not just maybe building a portfolio, but strategizing with my retirement account with a self-directed IRA, or understanding the benefit of being really diverse with a 1031 exchange, and stepping up, to get to that place in 20 to 30 years that I don't think our Social Security system is going to be good for us.
Yep. Yeah. What about like the successes, that agents have had, using your tools and using your education out there? I can think of like stuff that's happened in my career, as a result of the fact of just having the knowledge base.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example. There was a period of time where the city was buying properties because of airport noise. They had changed the flight pass, right? So I'm a nerd, so I like log on and I'm reading about all of this stuff. And what I learned is that the city was buying these properties, but they were paying pretty good money for these assets, right? More than what the property was worth. So my light bulb goes on and I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to knock on these doors because I know the city's not going to do that. So I'm going to go down there and I'm going to knock on the doors. I'm going to see if I can buy these properties, right? And in some cases, I was the buyer and then I subsequently sold it to the city. Or like I helped the homeowner sell their property to the city, who in this case was the investor. Like they were doing this to remove the thing. But just by having that knowledge base, like that year, I think I did an extra like 70 transactions just as a result of just knowing that was going on, right? And I was like, hey, your property today, if I was going to sell it, is worth $100,000.
Yep.
But if I sell it to this person, they're going to pay you $150,000. Your home's never going to be worth $150,000. Now's the time to sell it. Like you need to do this for your family. Like this is why we got to do this.
Right.
And these people loved it. They thought it was the greatest thing ever, you know? And that's like an example, but I'm sure you've got some cool stories of success.
I do. I mean, just with Tammy and I took this class in 2010 because I even though I had been in the industry and been in the business and I had worked with investors, I didn't learn this in high school. I didn't really learn it in college, to be fair. So I not only took the class and saw the opportunity like you see, Dan, but I became the instructor. And then I felt, wow, I can't be a hypocrite. And that's what inspired me to get our first investment property, to be fair.
Cool.
So just taking the class and becoming the instructor. But we were a 300,000 GCI team. Yeah. And this class, following the model, we became $1 million a year GCI team. Yeah. And so it's non-traditional though. And that's, I think, what attracted me the most to it. So in the interim, the past 2 years since we've rolled this out, that's probably the 90-10 rule. 10% of the graduates not only became investors themselves, but they've tripled the number of transactions that they're doing. Not only the transactions, but the referral business. Yeah. Right. So I've met a lot of investors who can't afford Los Angeles, and I've drawn a lot of maps, to Detroit. Yeah. Because there's deals out there everywhere. Right. But if you're not connected and if you don't understand where they are, and that's what I think this community has been able to do. And, partnering with Easy Street is another example of there's no boundaries to investing in real estate. That's right. Right.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, Branden, we could probably talk for hours. How does our listener base, how do they find you?
So a couple different ways. CIASdesignation.com is an easy way to get on our website, learn a little bit more about what we have to offer. They can see the live trainings that are already scheduled, whether it's in person, on Zoom. They can do it virtually. If they're interested in having us come teach it privately at their company or their brokerage, we're open to doing that. CISdesignation@gmail.com. And I don't know if I want to hand out my cell phone number, but
okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll give you all the. We'll give you
I could give Tammy's out and she'd be mad at me.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Don't do that one.
Yeah.
Don't do that one, man. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate you so much,
it, man.
Yeah, I think what you guys are doing is amazing, and I've been super blessed and honored to be a part of what you guys are doing.
You. Thanks for driving it down.
Oh man,
You drove for this.
I did.
This is awesome.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. So when are you guys driving to my area?
I don't know yet.
I'm riding with Marvin.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Doors. We hope you found today's insights valuable for your real estate investing journey.
Remember, real estate success doesn't happen overnight, but with the right tools and strategies, you can build long-term wealth and create passive income.
If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with others who are passionate about real estate investing.
Don't forget to follow us on social media for more tips and exclusive content.
Until next time, keep unlocking new opportunities, and we'll see you on the next episode of Behind the Doors.